The street was empty except for the lone figure curled up beside a pile of trash. Amaka's once glowing skin was covered in sores. Her hair had fallen out in clumps, and her ribs jutted out beneath her torn dress. She rocked back and forth, mumbling to herself, her fingers clawing at the dirt. A group of students from the university passed by, whispering, "Is that not Amaka, the girl who used to drive the latest cars? Look at her now. What happened to her?" Amaka could hear them, but their voices sounded distant, like echoes in a tunnel. Her mind was sleeping, drifting between past and present. She tried to stand, but her legs buckled beneath her. Hunger clawed at her stomach, but no food could satisfy her anymore. Nothing tasted right, nothing smelled right, nothing felt real. Suddenly, a chilling wind swept through the street. Amaka's breath caught in her throat as shadows flickered around her. Then she heard it, a voice, deep and guttural, calling her name. "You took what was not yours, Amaka. Now we have come for our payment." She let out a scream so raw it made the passers-by step back in horror. The shadows moved closer. Amaka tried to run, but her legs won't obey her. Her body felt heavy as though unseen hands were dragging her into the ground. She clawed at the pavement, tears streaming down her face. "Please, give me another chance." The shadow, the shadows only laughed, their voices a chorus of torment. Amaka's vision blurred as the world around her twisted into darkness. The last thing she saw was the reflection of her former self, a girl full of life, ambition, and greed. Before everything disappeared, the streets were silent once more, and the wind carried her final scream. The village of Umweze was small, the kind of place where everyone knew each other. The dusty roads wound through clusters of mud houses, their rooftops made of rusted zinc. Life was simple but difficult. Amaka was born to Mama Amaka, a widow who sold akara by the roadside. Her mother was a strong woman with hands from years of hard work. She believed in discipline and honesty. "Money that comes fast goes fast," she often told Amaka. Every morning, Amaka woke before the sun, helping her mother fry akara. The sizzling oil burned her hands, but she never complained. Afterwards, she would rush to school, her faded uniform neatly ironed. She was one of the brightest students in her class, but intelligence didn't pay school fees. She envied rich children who came for holidays. Their skin glowed, their clothes were spotless, and their accents carried a foreign lilt. They never had to sell akara or wear the same shoes for 3 years. One evening, after counting the day's earnings, Amaka sighed, "Mama, will we always be poor?" Her mother gave her a weary smile. "We may not have much, but we have dignity, hard work, and it will reward us in the end." Amaka nodded, but doubt festered in her heart. By the time she turned 18, she was determined to leave the village and change her destiny. She wanted wealth, not the slow, patient kind her mother preached about, but the instant riches she saw on television. When she received her admission letter to the University of Lagos, it felt like fate was finally on her side. Amaka's mother sold her most valuable possessions to pay for the first year fees. "This is your chance, my daughter," she said. "Promise me you will not forget where you come from." Amaka hugged her mother tightly, but deep inside, she knew the promise was a lie. As she boarded the bus to Lagos, the village disappeared behind her. She was stepping into a new world, one filled with endless possibilities, temptation, and a price she would soon regret paying. Lagos was everything Amaka had imagined and more. The moment she stepped off the bus, she was swallowed by a sea of people. Hawkers shouted over the honking of downforce, the air thick with the smell of roasted corn and exhaust fumes. Skyscrapers loomed over the city, their glass windows gleaming under the scorching sun. Her uncle, whom she barely knew, had agreed to let her stay with the family until she settled into campus. But his wife made it clear that she was not welcome. "No extra mouths to feed," she muttered, shoving a thin mattress into the corner of their cramped one-bedroom apartment. Amaka didn't argue. She wasn't here to be comfortable. She was here to change her life. The University of Lagos was a different world entirely. The campus was massive, filled with students from different backgrounds. Some came from humble beginnings like her, while others flaunted wealth like it was a second nature. She quickly noticed the hierarchy. The rich girls arrived in sleek cars, their nails perfectly manicured, their phones buzzing with alerts from shopping sprees overseas. The boys who pursued them wore designer clothes and never seemed to attend lectures. And then there were girls like her who struggled, girls who shared tiny hostel rooms with three others, who counted every naira before buying food, who watched the rich live the life they could only dream of. It didn't take long for Amaka to make friends. Her closest was Ifoma, a girl from Enugu with sharp eyes and an even sharper tongue. "Lagos will humble you if you don't find a way to survive," Ifoma warned one evening as they walked past a parked Mercedes-Benz car. Amaka sighed. "I just want a better life." Ifoma smirked. "Then you need to meet the right people." The right people? That night, Amaka lay on her thin mattress. She couldn't stop thinking about those words. Was it truly about who you knew? Could she step into the world of wealth if she just met the right people? She had no idea that an answer was waiting for her, hidden behind red lipsticks, designer bag, and a secret so dark that it would consume her. The transformation began with an invitation. It was a Friday night when Ifoma dragged Amaka to a high-end lounge on Victoria Island. The air inside was thick with perfume, and the dim lighting made everything feel luxurious. Amaka had never been around so much wealth, expensive champagne, designer dresses, and jewelries that glittered under the chandeliers. "Relax," Ifoma whispered, handing her a cocktail. "Tonight you'll meet the right people." Amaka took a cautious sip, the sweetness masking the strong burn of alcohol. That was when she noticed them. Three girls sitting in a VIP booth, dressed in silk and diamonds. Their leader, Bingpe, was stunning. She had flawless skin, long weaves, and an aura of power. "Who is that?" Amaka whispered. "Bimpe," Ifoma replied. "She runs things around here." As if sensing their stares, Bimpe looked up and smiled. In seconds, she waved them over. Amaka's heart pounded as she followed Ifoma. The closer she got, the more she noticed the details. Bimpe's nails were perfectly done. Her gold bracelet jingled softly as she moved, and her eyes held a knowing look, as if she had seen everything and feared nothing. Ifama, you brought a fresh face, Bimpe said smoothly, scanning Amaka from head to toe. This is Amaka, Ifama introduced her. She wants more from life. Bimpe smirked. Don't we all? The girls laughed softly, sipping their drinks. Tell me, Amaka, Bimpe leaned, are you ready to leave poverty behind? Amaka hesitated. The way Bimpe spoke made it sound like wealth was just a choice away. Yes, she said firmly. Bimpe's eyes widened. Then welcome to our world. As the night continued, Amaka felt herself slipping into their reality. The luxury, the admiration, the endless possibilities. It was intoxicating. But beneath the glamour, something lingered, a warning, and she ignored it. Amaka had no idea that this night would mark the beginning of the end. A week after the first meeting, Amaka received a text from Ifoma. Bimpe wants to see you. Wear something nice. Her heart raced as she dressed carefully, borrowing a fitted gown from Ifoma. When they arrived at a luxury apartment in Lekki, Amaka felt like she had stepped into another world. The marble floors gleamed, the air smelled of vanilla and expensive perfume, and soft jazz played in the background. Bimpe sat on a velvet couch, sipping red wine. Beside her were the other girls, Fumi and Tola, both equally stunning and confident. Amaka, Bimpe purred. Sit. Amaka obeyed, nervous but eager. You say you want wealth, Bimpe said, twirling her wine glass. But do you have what it takes? Amaka nodded. I'll do anything. Bimpe smiled. But first, you must prove yourself. A door opened and a man in a crisp white outfit walked in. He was older, his presence commanding. This is Chief, Bimpe introduced. He is our benefactor. Chief examined Amaka, his lips curling into a knowing smile. She looks ready, he said. Amaka swallowed hard. Something felt off, but she pushed the doubts away. Bimpe handed her a gold-wrapped package. Eat this, she ordered. Amaka unwrapped it slowly. The smell hit her first. Something foul, something unnatural. Her stomach clenched as realization dawned on her. This, this is, she stammered. Bimpe leaned in, her eyes closed. Wealth is not free, Amaka. This is your prize. The room fell silent. Amaka's hand trembled. She looked at Ifoma, hoping for reassurance, but her friend only smiled. Her lips glowed with the same secret. The weight of the moment crushed her. This was madness. This was beyond anything she had imagined. But then, the thought of home, of her mother struggling to sell akara, of the life she swore she would never return to. With shaking hands, she received the package and raised it to her mouth. The girls watched in airy silence as Amaka sealed her faith with the first bite. The moment Amaka's teeth sank into the foul substance, her stomach lurched. A wave of nausea crashed over her, but she forced herself to swallow. The taste was indescribable, rotten, unnatural. Her body rejected it immediately, her throat tightening as if she knew this was not food. She gagged, her eyes watering. The room span around her. Laughter erupted. Bimpe, Fumi, and Tola clapped as if she had just won a prize. Chief leaned back in his chair, nodding approvingly. She has passed, he announced. Amaka gasped for air, wiping her mouth with the back of her hand. Her body trembled, her mind screaming. She had made a mistake. What have I done? She whispered. Ifeoma knelt beside her, placing a hand on her back. You did well, she muttered. She murmured. It gets easier. Easier? Amaka's stomach twisted again. She rushed to the bathroom and vomited violently, her body rejecting every bit of the poison she had consumed. But no matter how much she purged, she couldn't erase what she had done. She stared at her reflection in the mirror. Her lips were pale, her eyes hollow. I can't do this, she told herself. I need to leave. But as she stepped out of the bathroom, Bimpe was waiting. You made a choice tonight, Amaka, she said, her voice soft but firm. There is no turning back. Amaka's heart pounded. But this isn't what I expected, she whispered. Bimpe chuckled. Did you think wealth came for free? Amaka's lips parted, but no words came. She had made a decision she couldn't undo. Welcome to your new life, Bimpe said, placing a crisp bundle of cash into Amaka's shaking hands. The money was real, heavy, more than her mother made in months. She swallowed hard, her hand clutching the bills. She wanted to run. She wanted to scream. But deep inside, she knew the truth. She had crossed the line and there was no going back. Amaka stared at the money in her hands. The crisp notes, smelling of power and sin. It was real. It was hers. But at what cost? Go home and rest, Bimpe instructed. Tomorrow we celebrate. Amaka nodded weakly, tucking the cash into her bag. Ifeoma walked her outside, her heels clicking against the marble floor. I know it feels strange now, Ifeoma said, her tone almost comforting, but you'll get used to it. Just think about what's ahead. Money, luxury, power. Isn't that what you wanted? Amaka forced a nod. As they drove back to the hostel, Lagos felt different. The bright lights of the city, once so full of promise, now felt cold. The streets were alive with music and laughter, but in Amaka's mind, a dark cloud loomed. That night, she tried to sleep, but her body wouldn't let her. Her stomach churned. The aftertaste of the initiation was still haunting her. Then came the nightmares. She saw herself drowning in filth, clawing at the surface, but every time she gasped for air, something forced her back under. She woke up in a cold sweat, her heart pounding. The next morning, Ifeoma handed her a shopping bag. Bimpe said to pick whatever you want. We are going out tonight. Amaka hesitated before peeking inside. Designer perfumes, clothes, and a brand new phone. It was everything she had ever dreamed of. The guilt in her chest tightened, but she ignored it. That evening, she stepped out in a dress worth more than her mother's monthly earnings. The club was even grander than the first one. Men in suits, girls dripping in gold, music so loud it vibrated through her bones. Bimpe wrapped an arm around her. See, this is the life. Amaka forced a smile. Drinks flowed, money exchanged. Her chiefs and politicians filled the VIP sections, whispering secrets, making deals. She had officially arrived. Yet, even with the wealth, the admiration, and the endless luxury, one thought gnawed at her. What have I become? The days blurred into weeks, and Amaka's life transformed completely. She no longer worried about money. Her account balance swelled with each secret meeting, each silent sacrifice. She moved into a serviced apartment in Lekki, abandoning her tiny hostel. She wore the finest clothes, carried a designer handbag, and drove a sleek car she didn't even have a license for. Her mother called every day, her voice filled with pride. Amaka, my daughter, you are truly blessed. God has answered our prayers. Each time Amaka forced a smile, swallowing the bitter truth. She had everything she ever wanted, yet she never felt happy. The rituals continued. The first time had been the worst, but now it was just a routine. The girls no longer flinched as they consumed the unthinkable. It's just a small price, Ifama would say, wiping her lips after each initiation. Look at where we are now. But Amaka no longer saw wealth as a blessing. It was a curse. She barely ate. The smell of food made her stomach churn. At night, she woke up drenched in sweat, her nightmares more vivid than ever. She saw hands reaching out from the darkness, voices whispering her name, laughter that echoed in her mind even when she was awake. Then came the physical changes. Her skin lost its glow, her eyes sunken, dark circles forming beneath them. No matter how much she rested, she was always exhausted. You need to relax, Bingpe advised one evening, sipping her champagne. We are rich now. This is the life we chose. I don't think I can do this anymore, Amaka whispered. The room fell silent. Bimpe set her glass down carefully. What did you just say? Amaka hesitated. The weight of Bimpe's gaze sent a shiver down her spine. I just need a break. Bimpe's lips curled into a slow smile, but her eyes were cold. Amaka, sweet girl, she cooed. There are no breaks here. You belong to us now. Amaka's heart pounded. She had sold her soul, and now she realized the terrifying truth. There was no way out of it. Amaka felt the walls closing in. The luxurious life she had once craved now felt like a golden cage. Everywhere she turned, she saw the truth. She was trapped. She stopped attending classes. What was the point? Money could buy anything now, even a degree. She ignored her mother's call, unable to fake excitement anymore. The nightmares worsened. She saw shadows moving in her room, heard whispers even when she was alone. Her body ached constantly, her stomach rejecting food. One night, she decided she had to leave. She packed a small bag, grabbed her keys, and rushed out. She didn't know where she was going, but anywhere was better than here. As she reached the parking lot, a sleek black SUV pulled up in front of her. The tinted window rolled down slowly. Bimpe, she smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Going somewhere, she asked sweetly. Amaka's hands trembled. Bimpe, please, I just need to clear my head. Bimpe sighed, stepping out of the car. She was dressed in a silk robe, her jewelry glinting under the streetlights. You are not thinking of leaving us, are you? She asked. Amaka's throat went dry. I just want to. You just what? Bimpe's voice sharpened. Fumi and Tola stepped out of the car, their expressions unreadable. You made a choice, Amaka, Bimpe continued, circling like a predator. You took the money. You ate. You belong to us now. Amaka's pulse raised. No one leaves, my dear. Bimpe whispered, leaning in. You should know that by now. Tears welled up in Amaka's eyes. Please, I don't want this anymore. Bimpe sighed dramatically. Oh, Amaka, do you think it's that simple? She signaled with her hands. Two men in dark suits emerged from the shadows. Before Amaka could react, they grabbed her in hands, dragging her back towards the building. She screamed, she fought, but it was useless. The last thing she saw before being pulled inside was Bimpe's satisfied smile. Welcome home, darling, she murmured. Amaka's world went blank. Amaka woke up in a dark, unfamiliar room. The air was thick with the scent of incense and something else, something rotten. Her head pounded, her body weak. She tried to move, but her limbs felt heavy. Panic rose in her chest. Then she heard footsteps. The door creaked open, and Bimpe walked in, her silk robe flowing behind her. You shouldn't have tried to leave, Amaka, she said, shaking her head. Amaka's lips trembled. Please, just let me go. Bimpe crouched beside her, tucking a stray hair behind Amaka's ear. You still don't get it, do you? She whispered. You think this is a game that you can walk away from? Amaka swallowed hard, her heart racing. Bimpe sighed. Chief is very disappointed. You were special, Amaka. You had potential. Amaka felt bile rise in her throat. I'll do anything. Just, just let me go. Bimpe's eyes darkened. Anything? She snapped her fingers. The door swung open again, and the two men, the one who had carried her earlier, one of them carried a small covered tray. He placed it in front of Amaka before stepping back. Bimpe lifted the cover. The stench hit Amaka immediately. Her stomach twisted violently. On the tray was something even worse than she had ever consumed. Worse than the first initiation. Worse than the countless times after. Her vision blurred. Eat, Amaka, Bimpe ordered. Amaka shook her head violently. No, she gasped. I can't do this. Bimpe's expression remained cold. Then you know what happens next. Amaka's breath came in short gasps. She knew she had heard the whispers, the stories of girls who refused, the ones who vanished without a trace. Please, please, don't do this, she sobbed. Bimpe stood, dusting off her robe. You made your choice, Amaka, she said. Now you must face the consequences. She turned to leave, snapping her finger once more. The men stepped forward. Amaka screamed, but in this dark, cursed world she had entered, no one could hear her. Amaka's scream echoed through the room, but they meant nothing. The men grabbed her, their hands like iron shackles. She thrashed, kicked, begged, anything to escape the nightmare she had willingly walked into. But there was no escape. The tray sat before her, the foul stench seeping in through her skin. She gagged. Her body shook violently, her mind spiraling into terror. Eat, one of the men growled, forcing her closer to the tray. Amaka turned her face away, sobbing, I can't, please, I can't. Bimpe sighed dramatically from the corner of the room. I warned you, Amaka. Wealth comes at a price. You enjoyed the luxury, didn't you? The money, the cars, the party. But now you don't want to pay the price anymore. Bimpe continued shaking her head. That's not how it works, my dear. The man's hand tightened their grip on Amaka's arms. If you won't eat, Bimpe said softly, then you serve another way. Amaka froze. Her breath came in shallow gasps. What do you mean? She whispered. Bimpe stepped closer, crouching so that their faces were inches apart. Your body will decay, she murmured slowly, painfully. The spirit we serve will take their dues. Amaka's blood ran cold. Bimpe leaned even closer, her lips brushing against Amaka's ears. You should have never tried to leave. Suddenly, a sharp pain shot through Amaka's stomach. She screamed, clutching her abdomen as an unbearable heat spread through her veins. It felt like fire crawling beneath her skin, eating her from the inside out. She collapsed to the ground, writhing in agony. That was the last thing she saw before darkness swallowed her whole. Amaka woke up to a pain all over her body. Her skin felt like it was burning from within her, her throat dry as if she had swallowed fire. She was lying on a cold, hard surface, her apartment floor, but everything else was different. The air smelled rotten, like decaying flesh. Her once glowing brown skin had taken on a sickly pale color. Her reflection in the mirror across the room sent a chill down her spine. Her eyes, once bright and full of dreams, were now sunken, dark shadows clinging beneath them. Her cheeks were hollow, her lips cracked and dry. Her beauty, the thing she had once valued so much, was fading. And then she realized this was the curse. Bingpei had warned her if she refused to obey, her body would decay. Amaka crawled to the bathroom, gripping the sink for support. She turned on the tap and splashed water on her face, but nothing helped. The pain, the sickness, it was all inside her now. Days passed and her condition worsened. Her long, beautiful hair began to fall out in clumps. Her skin became rough, dry, peeling off in patches. No matter what she ate, she remained weak, her body rejecting food. She was alone. One evening, as she lay on the floor, too weak to move, she heard her phone ring. With trembling hands, she reached for it. Her mother's voice was filled with worry. Amaka, why have you not been picking my calls? I had a dream, a terrible dream, my daughter. Are you okay? Tears welled up in Amaka's face. She wanted to tell her mother everything, to confess, to beg for help. But what could she say? That she had sold her soul? That she had chosen wealth over her morals, and now she was paying the price. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came, only choked sob. Her mother cried, Amaka, what is happening to you? But Amaka couldn't talk because deep down she knew no one could save her now. Not her mother, not prayer, not even death. She had made a deal with the devil, and the devil never let go. Remember, the pursuit of wealth without morals always come at a price. Some sacrifices are too great to make, and once you walk down the wrong path, there may be no way back.